During the early 2010s, the entire world was Walking Dead crazy. After the launch of the highly popular AMC adaptation to the 2003 Robert Kirkman illustrated novel, fans just wanted more and more. Telltale Games, who are known for episodic-based video games such as Sam & Max Save the World, Jurassic Park and Back to the Future, released their own take of a Walking Dead game that is considered to have one of the greatest stories ever to be told. Other companies jumped on the bandwagon soon after, with the more shoot-'em-up style titles, but their versions came nowhere close to the Telltale Games action-adventure. With the art style taking inspiration directly from the comic series, I'll admit I was somewhat skeptical at first, but after finishing the first episode of the 5-part series, myself, among many others, yearned for more. Welcome to the video. You're listening to Phil of Philby Gaming, and today I'm going to be taking you through the first episode of Telltale Games The Walking Dead. I'll be discussing character relationships, decision making, and just in general why this game is one that must be experienced by all, even if you're not a Walking Dead fanatic. If you like today's video, you all know what to do, and be sure to find me over on Instagram if you want to let me know of any videos in particular you'd like to see. Please be aware there most definitely will be spoilers ahead for anyone who's yet to play or even complete the first episode of this series. With that being said, I hope you all enjoy, and let's get into what we came here to see. The greatest gaming story ever told, Telltale Games The Walking Dead. Players step into the shoes of Lee Everett, a 37-year-old former history professor who worked at the University of Georgia. When returning to his Atlanta home one afternoon, Lee would discover his wife was having an affair with another man. The two men would brawl, which ended up in the death of one. Lee Everett was arrested and charged with murder. As our tale begins, Lee is in the back of a police squad car, being transported to the Meriwether County Correctional Facility. During small talk with the escorting officer, we learn a little about Lee. Aside from him being a history professor, we learn that he was born and raised in Macon, Georgia, and that his parents own a pharmacy store there. The transport is soon interrupted when the officer inadvertently hits what he first thought to be a pedestrian crossing the busy freeway. The car veers off the road and down an embankment, falling some distance. Lee is knocked out during the fall and has damaged his leg severely. Coming to his senses, he notices the officer is a good distance from the wreck, but the blood trail that followed him shows that he wasn't flung and that he crawled. Kicking out the window of the squad car, Lee manages to escape. After obtaining the handcuff keys from the clearly deceased officer, the corpse springs to life. Crawling away in fear, Lee is forced to use the officer's own shotgun to put him down. The loud noise draws the attention of not only an unidentified person in the distance, but more of the undead. Even with his leg busted up, Lee manages to escape the vicious mob and finds himself in somebody's backyard. Luckily for him, a nearby gunshot draws the attention of the flesh eaters in another direction. He's safe for the time being. Upon entering the hopefully abandoned home, Lee discovers this place to be overturned, including a pool of blood on the floor in the kitchen. He notices that there have been messages left on the answering machine and plays it in hopes of finding information as to what's going on. It's here that he learns the horrific nature of the situation he's in.
3 new messages. Message 1, left at 5:43 p.m.
Hey, Sandra, this is Diana. We're still in Savannah. Ed had a little incident with some crazy guy near the hotel, so we had to get him back to the ER and have it checked out. Anyway, he's not feeling well enough to drive back tonight, so we're staying an extra day. Thanks so much for looking after Clementine, and I promise we'll be back in time before your spring break.
Message 2, left at 11:19 p.m.
Oh my God, finally. I don't know if you tried to reach us. All the calls are getting dropped. They're not letting us leave and aren't telling us anything about Atlanta. Please, just leave the city and take Clementine with you back to Murrieta. I've got to get back to the hospital. Please let me know that you're safe.
Message 3, left at 6:51 a.m.
Clementine, baby. If you can hear this, call the police. That's 911. We love you. We love you. We love you.
On a walkie-talkie found in a kitchen drawer, a little girl's voice comes through, sounding terrified.
What's your name?
I'm Clementine. This is my house.
Hi, Clementine. I'm Lee.
The conversation is soon interrupted as Lee is attacked by one of the monsters from behind. After fending it off with the assistance of Clementine, Lee and the girl have a short conversation in which he promises to watch over her until her parents return, and that they both agree that they need to find somewhere more safe for now and return with a group if possible. It's during this that the player is given their first major choice: leave by day or leave by night. Whichever the player chooses will alter the following scene. I chose to leave during nightfall as I felt it may be easier to avoid the walkers with the help of the darkness. Upon leaving the property, the pair come under gunfire by an officer stating he's from the Georgia State Patrol. During these time-sensitive dialogue options, one of our choices are for Lee to surrender. Remember, he's a convicted felon. This is a key feature in the game, as each dialogue option you will choose will branch off and alter the story. Even if it's something said in episode 1, it can change a detail in a much later episode in the game. After identifying that they are not monsters, Lee and Clementine are met by the officer and his friend named Sean Green, a character from the illustrated novels. The officer escorts the duo to Sean's farm, where he claims that his father is a veterinarian and may be able to help with Lee's busted leg from the car crash. Upon meeting Sean's father, Hershel, who's also another character from the novels, plus the AMC adaptation, Lee is immediately questioned as to why he's with this young girl, who is not his daughter, and what his true identity is. Being a convicted criminal, he's of course trying to conceal his information, but Hershel sees right through this. Even so, he allows them to stay the night in his barn, where he states another family are sleeping too. During a goodnight conversation between Clementine and Lee, the following is said.
It smells like...
Shit. I'm sorry. I shouldn't talk like that.
That was a swear.
This is once again a dialogue choice that will slightly alter a scene later in another episode. Being awoken in the morning, Lee is introduced to the other family. Kenny, a commercial fisherman, his wife Katja, a veterinarian like Hershel, and their son, Ken Jr., nicknamed Duck by his parents. Spending the next few minutes exploring the Green family farm and getting to know his fellow survivors, including a few things about Clementine, Lee is once again grilled about hiding his identity by Hershel. The tense conversation is soon interrupted by someone screaming for help. Whilst Hershel grabs his rifle, Lee rushes to see what the commotion is. Both Sean Green and Duck are under attack by walkers. It's here that the player is yet again given a choice, but this time it's a big one. Save Duck or save Sean. I chose to try and save Duck first, as he was much younger than Sean, but I still had intentions of trying to free Sean too. Unfortunately, he didn't make it, and with Hershel in a frantic state due to the death of his child, Lee, Clementine, Kenny, Katja and Duck are all last to leave the property. Lee decides to take Clementine to his home city of Macon, Georgia, in hopes of finding his family alive. Kenny and his family offer to drive the pair there, as it's on the way to his home in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. From Macon to Fort Lauderdale would take around 7 hours to drive, so Kenny needs to top up on fuel. The streets are looking abandoned, with vehicle wreckage surrounding them. It's not long before the group finds itself surrounded by walkers and are forced to flee into a nearby abandoned pharmacy, which is inhabited with other survivors. As soon as the two groups merge together, there's tension immediately, as some of them don't want the risk of bringing new people in. Following the commotion outside, young Doug is covered in blood and guts, leading to one of the occupants believing him to be bitten and wants him tossed out immediately. Kenny, being Doug's father, of course doesn't take too kindly to this, and the pair scuffle. The group soon realise that they aren't alone, as there's a walker in the bathroom, which forces Lee to quickly come to the rescue of Clementine with the aid of one of the pharmacy survivors. The sound of the gunshot draws the attention of the surrounding monsters, but the situation de-escalates when more survivors outside of the store, possibly military, draw them off. The older guy who fought Kenny begins to clutch at his chest. The group learns that he has a heart condition and needs medication that's been locked away in a back room. The tension calms down as the group realise that they need to come up with a plan: gasoline for their vehicles and medication. Lee finally learns the names of the other survivors. Glenn, who most will recognise from both the illustrated novels and the AMC adaptation. Carly, a news reporter who is in Macon covering a story. Doug, a computer tech who had rescued Carly previously, and Larry and Lily, the father and daughter team. While looking for supplies in the store, Lee gets to know everyone a little better, whilst finding a little food for the kids. Carly is working on the radio, and after finding some batteries and picking up a transmission, she learns that her station has been overrun. Doug is guarding the door, but shows Lee that they can step outside safely because of the security gate. When Lee checks in with Lily and her father, he learns that when they entered, there were 2 corpses in the back room. Although he's kept it quiet so far, this pharmacy is clearly Lee's parents' store, and his parents didn't make it. Heading to the back room where his parents were discovered, Lee, with the help of Clementine, attempt to get into the storeroom. They spend a little more time talking there before Carly comes in, declaring she knows exactly who Lee is and that he's a convicted felon. Although she doesn't want to spill the beans to everyone, as she feels Lee is a good guy and that he has Clementine to take care of, she just wants him to be aware that she knows about his past. After obtaining a family photograph, Lee uses it outside with Doug, proving that one of the walkers in the street was an employee of the pharmacy and more than likely has the keys to the locked storage on him. Glenn, who left to get gasoline from a nearby motel, radios through to state he's in trouble. He's been cornered by walkers and needs rescuing. Lee and Carly head on out to do so. It's during this portion of the game where the player has to use a bit of thinking. Instead of fleeing immediately, Glenn informs the two that there's a survivor trapped in one of the upper rooms of the motel. Using stealth and tactic, the trio manage to eliminate the walkers before finally coming across the survivor in this following scene.
Stop! Just stop! I'm coming out.
You're hurt.
Oh, God.
I said stay away.
We need to get you help.
It's too late for that.
Guys, she's been bitten.
What?
I told you, I said go away! I'm bit! But you wouldn't just leave.
Let's calm down. You could be fine.
I won't be fine. My boyfriend was bitten. You get sick and you die, and you come back and you kill anything you can find.
You have a boyfriend?
Glenn?
I don't want that. It's not Christian. Please, just leave me. Please go.
Come with us, and we'll find you some help.
You have a gun.
So?
Can I borrow it?
What do you mean, borrow?
Give it to me. I can just, end this, and then there's no problem.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Please! I don't want to be one of them. They're satanic.
We can't let you do that to yourself.
Then do it for me!
We need to get going.
Give it to me, please!
This is crazy.
Please, step back.
It's just 2 seconds, just one bullet, and I can be with my family, and it'll all be fine.
Miss.
Back up, please! Whoa!
Whoa, take it easy. We just want to help.
You can't.
Miss, just relax now. You need to think this through. We'll find you a doctor. It'll be okay. Let's all just... No!
Back at the drugstore, it's time to get back to priorities. The keys to the storage room. Lee and Doug head back outside, and after distracting the walkers surrounding them, Lee grabs the keys from his brother, where he says his final goodbyes. Just when things were looking up, now that they can obtain the medication for Larry, the following happens.
Oh no. We gotta hurry.
Drawing walkers from miles away to their location, the group must move fast to grab what they can and escape. As the walkers begin to break through the doors and windows, the group attempt to fend off the attackers, whilst Kenny gets the vehicles ready. During the escape, the player is forced to make a second hugely difficult decision. Both Carly and Doug need their help, and only one can survive.
God.
Let's go!
They got Doug.
You gotta move! Not coming with this, you son of a bitch!
No!
I'm not letting somebody else get eaten today. Especially a good friend.
After escaping the pharmacy and now somewhat safe at the motor inn, the group have time to collect their thoughts. Glenn, after listening to a radio broadcast, chooses to leave the group to drive to Atlanta in hopes of finding his friends. Kenny and Katja are bickering, and Carly is suffering with grief after the loss of Doug. It's at this time that Lee learns why Larry knocked him out in the store. He knows all about Lee and the murder he committed before the outbreak. He warns him to steer clear of his daughter, Lily. Although Larry had warned Lee to stay away from his daughter, Lily still feels the need to thank Lee for saving her father's life. When checking in with the kids, Clementine is visibly upset. Her walkie-talkie, which she used to have pretend talks with her parents, is broken. Soon enough, The sound of gunfire is heard in the distance, giving the group a little hope, right before the power is cut, concluding the first episode of this 5-part series. Although the bond between Lee and Clementine is a little awkward at first, as Lee has no children of his own, they soon warm up to each other. Where AMC's adaptation begins several months or so into the outbreak, this story starts right at the beginning, so we get to witness the world falling apart in a real-time manner, so to speak. The comic-style graphics of the game are a nice touch, and pay homage to that of the original design of The Walking Dead and creator Robert Kirkman himself. The first season became so successful that it led to a further 3 seasons and even a spin-off smaller series dedicated to Michonne. The difference in split-second choices can change future chapters heavily, so its replayability value is very high. What would have happened if we had tried to save Sean instead of Doug? How would that affect our relationship with Kenny and his family? Or if we chose Doug over Carly? Both characters would have entirely different stories in the future. There's just so many things. The emotion of this game is strong. 1 minute you're chuckling to yourself, and the next you're just in absolute shock of what you just witnessed, such as Lee's dry sense of humour to the death of the young girl at the motel. Telltale Games' The Walking Dead is a must experience for anyone who enjoys action-adventure titles with a very strong storyline. If you guys wish for me to follow this video up with episode 2, be sure to let me know in the comment section, and by hitting that like button. At the end of this video, I'll show clips from the follow-up episode to help you make a decision. I hope you all had as much fun watching this today as I did making it. Thank you all for sticking to the end. You've been listening to Phil, and I'll see you in the next one.
I thought we'd be fine if we survived the walkers. Never expected they'd starve us out.
I want you to have this, okay? In case you or Clementine starts feeling weak.
You don't owe me anything, Carly. How you doing, Clementine?
I'm really hungry, Lee.
We gotta get food, Lee. Soon.
Howdy, I'm Andrew St. John. We're from the St. John Dairy.
It's beautiful.
I never did thank you for saving Duck from the walkers back at Hershel's farm.
Something's coming, Lee. There's gonna be a war.
The walkers don't worry me as much as the bandits.
You fucked with us! Now we're gonna take what we want! There's too many of them!
You've never liked my dad. Even back at the drugstore when everyone thought Kenny's kid was bit, you went out of your way to side against him.
This isn't happening! No more, please! No more, please! Please, please!